You probably still remember the cast of Amen exactly as they were back on screen, with Sherman Hemsley, Clifton Davis, Maria Horsford, and those faces that only need to show up for a second to pull an entire era of American television right back into the room. But when the show stopped, their lives kept going. After Amen, some of them went on much further, some quietly changed direction, some left behind real-life stories that were sadder than audiences ever knew, and some grew in ways almost nobody could have predicted. It's been nearly 40 years since Amen first aired, and time has changed just about everything. Today, we're taking a look back at the cast of Amen then and now, to see what these familiar faces have been through and where they are in life today. And stick around till the end, because we're also going to revisit a few small memories through 5 of the most surprising facts. Number 1. Sherman Hemsley as Deacon, Ernest Frye Sherman. Alexander Hemsley was born on February 1, 1938. When Amen premiered in 1986, he was 48 years old. In this series, Hemsley played Deacon Ernest Frye, the lead character appearing across all 110 episodes, and that was a position nobody else in the cast could replace. What made Sherman Hemsley stand out is that by the time he stepped into Amen, he was already a full-fledged television star. Before that, American audiences knew him very well as George Jefferson in The Jeffersons, a series that ran for 11 seasons, from 1975 to 1985. That role earned him Emmy and Golden Globe nominations and made him one of the most recognizable black sitcom faces of that era. And it would be a mistake not to mention the jobs he held before all of this. He served in the U.S., Air Force, worked at the post office, and studied acting at night before being discovered by Norman Lear on stage. After Amen, he kept working with projects like Dinosaurs, where he voiced B.P. Richfield, then Good Behavior in 1996, and multiple returns to television as George Jefferson. You might think Hemsley's life and career had a perfect ending, and in a way they did while he was alive. Hemsley passed away in 2012 at the age of 74. After that, his body was held for months due to a will dispute when a man claiming to be his half-brother fought for inheritance rights. It was a sad and complicated ending, completely different from the laughter he gave audiences on screen. Number 2. Clifton Davis as Reverend Dr. Reuben Gregory. Clifton Davis was never the kind of actor who lived off a single role. Before Amen turned him into Reverend Gregory in the eyes of television audiences, he had already written the hit Never Can Say Goodbye for the Jackson 5 performed on Broadway and starred in his own sitcom That's My Mama. Davis was born on October 4, 1945. When Amen premiered in 1986, he was 41. This year, he is 81. In Amen, he played Reverend Dr. Reuben Gregory, the second male lead, standing opposite Deacon Ernest Frye and serving as a key emotional axis through his connection with Thelma Frye. What makes Clifton Davis more memorable than many sitcom actors is how many different worlds his life has crossed. He was nominated for a Tony for Two Gentlemen of Verona, appeared in Hello, Dolly, and entered Amen with a resume strong enough that he never got overshadowed by Sherman Hemsley. But here's the detail I always find most interesting. That role as a minister was not just acting. Davis actually studied theology, earned a degree in it, and served as a real-life minister for years. So, Reverend Gregory was not just a TV performance. It felt like a very real part of who he was. His life wasn't smooth either. The Washington Post once reported that Davis openly acknowledged a period when he fell into drug use, including cocaine. And what matters to me is not the fall, but the comeback and how far he kept going afterward. After Amen, Davis continued working steadily from Madam Secretary to Broadway with Aladdin and Wicked, and in 2025, he even joined Beyond the Gates. I think any longtime Amen fan would be glad to hear that. Number 3. Maria Horsford as Thelma Frye. If Amen only had Deacon Frye and Reverend Gregory, it would be missing something essential. That anchor was Maria Horsford. She was born on March 6th, though her birth year still varies across sources often listed as 1948. This year, she's around 78. When Amen premiered in 1986, she was 38. In the series, Horsford played Thelma Frye, later, Thelma Frye, Gregory, the female lead, and the bridge between her strong-willed father and Reverend Gregory. The role was significant enough to earn her a NAACP Image Award nomination. What I like about Maria Horsford is that she never felt like an actor stuck in one old sitcom. After Amen, she kept going far. TV audiences remember her in the Wayans Brothers film, audiences remember her from Friday and Friday After Next, and drama viewers saw her in The Shield and The Bold and the Beautiful, which brought her Daytime Emmy nominations. Even in recent years, she's still appearing in new projects, including No Good Deed on Netflix. And if you look before Amen, her foundation was already strong. Horsford worked as a producer on Soul on PBS from the late 1960s into the early 1970s, with stage soap and television experience, before landing her defining role. Her personal life has been relatively stable, with no major scandals, and one detail people remember is her Antiguan and Barbudan heritage, along with being named Tourism Ambassador of Antigua in 2011. A remarkable career. And now, let's move to another memorable female role from the show. Number 4, Roz Ryan as Amelia Hetebrink. Roz Ryan didn't start on a film set. She started in Detroit nightclub lounges. She sang for 13 years before someone suggested she audition for Ain't Misbehavin'. She did got the role almost immediately, and that turn eventually led her to Amen. Rosalind Bowen, born July 7, 1951. When Amen premiered, she was 35, and now she is 75. In the series, she played Amelia, one half of the Hetebrink sisters, a pair of familiar supporting characters. What I respect most about Roz Ryan is that Amen was just one chapter in a very full career. After shifting from nightclub singing, she moved straight to Broadway with Ain't Misbehavin', then continued with Dreamgirls, The Pajama Game, Scandalous, and especially Chicago. In Chicago, she holds the record for the longest-running performance as Matron Mama Morton, which tells you she's not a TV actor wandering onto the stage, but a true stage performer. After Amen, she also built a strong voice acting career, playing Thalia in Hercules, and later connecting with younger audiences through Adventure Time and Adventure Time, Fiona and Cake. Her personal life hasn't been entirely smooth. She has been married and divorced twice and has a son, Dante Reed. But to be fair, those challenges never overshadowed her career. What remains is a solid professional path from lounge singer to Broadway to sitcoms to animation, leaving a distinct mark at every stage. Number 5. Barbara Montgomery as Casietta, Hetebrink. Barbara Montgomery is the only original Amen cast member who chose to leave the show before it ended, and that alone makes her story different. Montgomery was born June 25, 1939. When Amen premiered in 1986, she was 47. Today, she is 87. In the series, she played Casietta Hetebrink, the other half of the Hetebrink sisters, alongside Roz Ryan's Amelia. She was part of the show from 1986 to 1990, then left before the finale, and her character essentially disappeared without explanation on screen. What's important is that Barbara Montgomery didn't enter Amen as just a sitcom actress. She came from the stage working in Off-Broadway and was a member of the Negro Ensemble Company and La Mama Experimental Theater Club. In the early 1970s, she won an Obie Award for her role as Mama in My Sister, My Sister, and later brought that same role to Broadway in 1974. So before TV audiences knew Casietta Barbara Montgomery already had deep roots in the craft. The part that sticks with me most is something she once said. Montgomery openly stated that the atmosphere of Amen didn't suit me, and that she never really felt like she belonged there. More importantly, she made it clear this was her decision. She asked to be released from her contract before the season ended. After that, she moved to ABC's Married People, though that show only lasted one season. Later on, she shifted direction again and directed the film Mitote in 2013. To me, Barbara Montgomery represents something rare, someone experienced enough to know when to walk away and strong enough to keep going on her own terms. Number 6. Jester Hairston as Raleigh Forbes. Jester. Joseph Hairston was born July 9, 1901. When Amen premiered in 1986, he was 85. In the show, he played Raleigh Forbes, a supporting role, but an important one. And here's something you might not expect. Jester Hairston was a multi-talented figure, more deeply connected to music than acting. He was a composer-arranger, choral conductor, and a major figure in African American spirituals. In fact, he was among the few artists who helped bring spirituals into wider recognition as a respected choral genre. His name is tied to Mary's Boy Child, the song Amen, and a career that stretched from stage to film to choral music. His path wasn't easy. Hairston was born in North Carolina, studied landscape architecture, but had to drop out due to financial struggles, then continued at Tufts and Juilliard before moving deeper into music and Hollywood. He worked for years with the Hall Johnson Choir, then transitioned into film contributing arrangements and choral direction. That's why when he appeared in Amen, he brought more than just a role. He brought an entire history with him. His legacy also has a complicated side. Hairston appeared in Amos and Andy, which later drew criticism for racial stereotypes. But he himself said that his generation had very little power to choose differently at the time. Jester Hairston received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 1992, and he passed away in 2000 at the age of 98. To me, Raleigh Forbes is just the doorway for younger audiences to discover a much larger legacy. Number 7. Rosetta LeNoire as Leola Forbes. If you only remember Rosetta LeNoire as Leola Forbes from Amen, you're really only seeing a small slice of her career. Rosetta LeNoire, born Rosetta. Olive Burton was born August 8, 1911. When she appeared in Amen, starting in Season 2 in 1987, she was 76. In the show, she played Leola Forbes, the partner of Raleigh Forbes, a recurring role that added warmth and depth to the church community. But what makes Rosetta LeNoire truly remarkable is that she was far bigger than that role. Mainstream audiences later remembered her even more as Estelle Mother Winslow in Family Matters, but even that doesn't fully capture her impact. In 1968, she founded Amos Repertory Theater, later known as Amos Musical Theater, with a mission to promote multicultural casting on American stages. Actors Equity even named an award after her, the Rosetta LeNoire Award, recognizing contributions to diversity in theater. That's why I've always seen Rosetta LeNoire as more than a television actress. She was a pioneer. In 1999, she received the National Medal of Arts, one of the highest artistic honors in the United States, not for one role, but for a lifetime of work and opening doors for others. She passed away on March 17, 2002, due to complications from diabetes at the age of 90. Number 8. Elsa Raven as Inga. Elsa Raven was the kind of actor American audiences would usually recognize by face first, then remember the name a second later. She was born on September 21, 1929. When she started appearing on Amen in 1988, she was 59 years old and played Inga Deacon, Ernest Frye's Swedish housekeeper. She appeared from 1988 to 1990, and then the character was dropped from the show without any on-screen explanation. There's really no denying she was one of the most familiar supporting faces in American film and television. A lot of people remember her most as the woman holding the donation flyer and shouting, "Save the clock tower" in Back to the Future in 1985. Other people recognize her as Ida Strauss in Titanic in 1997. Then you've also got Wise Guy Seinfeld, Everybody Loves Raymond, and a whole lot of other TV credits. Put simply, Elsa Raven was never a loud kind of star, but she was exactly the kind of character actress Hollywood used for years, because all she had to do was show up for a couple of minutes, and people remembered her right away. She worked from 1961 to 2011, which is a genuinely long career. Elsa Raven kept her personal life pretty private, and in the easier-to-verify sources she was never tied to any major scandal. In the end, what really remains is the work. She passed away on November 2, 2020 in Los Angeles at the age of 91. To me, Elsa Raven was the kind of actor who helped build the memory of the American screen. In a very quiet way, she didn't need to stand in the middle of the frame, but she still stayed in the audience's mind for a very long time. Number 9. Bumper Robinson as Clarence. Out of all the faces we've talked about today, Bumper Robinson was one of the youngest when he came into Amen. And that's exactly why, looking at him now, you really feel just how far that journey has gone. Bumper Robinson, born Larry Clarence. Robinson II was born on June 19, 1974. When he joined Amen in Season 5 in 1990, he was 16, and now he is 52. In this series, he played Clarence, a street kid taken under Deacon Ernest Frye's wing, and that character appeared in 11 episodes of the final season. What matters here is that Bumper Robinson was not some kid brought into the show with no experience. Before Amen, he had already been working since the early 1980s, with credits like Cocaine and Blue Eyes, Enemy Mine Night Court, The Facts of Life, Punky Brewster, and Days of Our Lives. So by the time he got to Amen, he was already a real working child actor, not some brand new face. But the most interesting part of this story actually comes after that. A lot of child actors grow up and slowly fade out, but Bumper Robinson went the other direction. After Amen, he kept doing live action with roles like Jackie Jackson in The Jacksons, An American Dream, and Dorian Haywood in A Different World. Then he built a really strong career in voice acting, with Bumblebee and Blitzwing in Transformers, animated Rook Blanco in Ben 10, Omniverse Falcon across several Marvel projects, along with a whole list of roles in animation and video games. Number 10. Franklyn Seals as Lorenzo Hocallingsworth. Franklyn Seals is one of the faces I feel saddest about when I look back at Amen, because he didn't leave after a long, full career. He left in the middle of it, while people were still waiting to see how much farther he could go. Franklyn Vincent Ellison Seals was born on July 15, 1952. When he appeared on Amen from 1986 to 1987, he was 34. In this series, Seals played Lorenzo Hocallingsworth, an early recurring cast member who appeared in 5 episodes. Franklyn Seals was born in Caliacqua. St. Vincent grew up in Brooklyn, originally planned to study fine arts at Pratt Institute, then happened to go with a friend to a Juilliard audition, and caught John Houseman's attention, which led to a 4-year scholarship. After that, he moved from stage work into film and television, with credits like The Trial of the Moke, The Onion Field, Star Trek, The Motion Picture, Southern Comfort, and especially Dexter Stuffins in Silver Spoons. The role that probably made American audiences remember his name even more than Amen did. The Los Angeles Times even described him as a stage actor, praised for his strong versatility. But that path was cut short way too early. Seals began showing signs of AIDS-related illness right there on the Amen set, including a lingering cough, and toward the end of his life, he could barely work consistently anymore. Franklyn Seals passed away on May 14, 1990, at his family's home in Brooklyn at the age of 37 from AIDS-related complications. It's heartbreaking, and honestly, what keeps him in my mind isn't just the fact that he died so young, but the feeling that he still had so much left to do. Number 11. James Avery as Reverend. Tom Crawford / Arnie Samples. You probably remember James Avery's face before you even remember his name. Some people remember him as Uncle Phil, some remember that voice as Shredder, and some probably saw him on Amen and only then realized they had known that face for years. James LaRue Avery was born on November 27, 1945. When he appeared on Amen in the late 1980s, he was already over 40. In this series, Avery appeared in 5 episodes, playing 2 roles, Reverend Crawford and Arnie Samples. James Avery did not get into the business by taking shortcuts. He was born in Virginia, raised in Atlantic City, served in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War, then moved to San Diego, started writing poetry, wrote scripts for PBS, and studied at the University of California, San Diego. That life experience gave him a very specific kind of dignity, and later audiences saw that most clearly in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, where he became Uncle Phil, one of the most memorable TV fathers in America. At the same time, he left a completely different mark with the voice of Shredder in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. On one side, you had a family sitcom, on the other, an action cartoon, and he was great in both. The spotlight came to him fairly late, and his life ended earlier than it should have. James Avery passed away on December 31, 2013, from complications following open-heart surgery at the age of 68. And after a life that had more than its share of hardship, we move now to another name, who was quieter in a different way. Number 12. Linney Godfrey as Jackie Dunn. Linney Godfrey is the kind of performer where if you only know her from a few episodes of Amen, you're probably missing most of the real story. Godfrey was born on September 11, 1952. When she appeared on Amen in 1987, she was around 35. As of 2026, she is 74. In this series, she played Jackie Dunn, a recurring role that lasted 5 episodes. It was not a huge role, like some of the central cast members had, but it was enough to show that Amen was not leaning only on the most familiar names. It also had performers with a really strong foundation underneath it all. What matters even more is the career behind it. Linney Godfrey grew up in church settings in Harlem and Brooklyn, studied voice early, and then moved into the profession through stage work and music performance. She appeared in Shuffle Along and later made it to Broadway in Eubie, and that debut earned her a Drama Desk Award nomination. That tells you a lot. She was not just a supporting television actor. She was a performer with real stage and music roots. After Amen, Godfrey kept going with real staying power. She didn't just act. She also wrote, directed, produced, founded Godly Entertainment in 2002, and then in 2023 became president of the League of Professional Theater Women. And before we leave the cast section and move into some of the more interesting things behind the show, there's still one last name that absolutely deserves a mention. Number 13. Hakeem Abdul-Samad as Daryl/choir member. Before we leave the cast section, I want to stop for a minute on one face who was a whole lot younger than many of the others, because Hakeem Abdul-Samad brought more to Amen than just the presence of a child actor. He also brought some of that very specific black pop culture energy from the late 1980s. Hakeem Abdul-Samad was born on March 26, 1975. When he appeared on Amen in 1987, he was only 12. This year, he is 51. In this series, he appeared in 5 episodes, with credits like Daryl Boy, Scout Number 3, and choir member. Those were not major roles, but they were exactly the kind of pieces that fit Amen's small clean, and part of what made the world of the show feel fuller and more alive. What makes Hakeem Abdul-Samad worth mentioning is not just Amen by itself. He was also a member of the Abdul-Samad Brothers group from Carson, California, which had its own very specific place in late 1980s teen R&B. So when I look back at Hakeem today, I don't just see a kid who once passed through this sitcom. I see a whole slice of a period when television music and Black popular culture were all still standing very close together. IMDb also lists him in titles like Ernest Goes to Camp and Moonwalker, which is enough to show he belonged to that exact generation of familiar child faces from the time. And this is probably the right moment to step away from the individual faces and look back at the Amen cast as a group. Because the deeper I dug, the more I kept finding these little details that were honestly kind of great details that were not loud or sensational, but somehow made the memory of this show feel even richer. Fact number 1. Sherman Hemsley was only about 10 years older than Maria Horsford. That sounds a little hard to believe at first, because on screen they played father and daughter so naturally. But that's also a really nice example of how television worked back then. Audiences did not believe it because of the number on paper. They believed it because of the presence, the rhythm, and that family feeling the two of them created together. Fact number 2. Tony T. Johnson was originally only meant to be a recurring character, but audiences ended up liking the kid so much that the role gradually became more familiar and more welcome. I always like stories like that because that was such a specific part of old-school American sitcoms. Some characters were never created to take center stage, but the audience was the thing that kept them around longer than expected. Fact number 3. Clifton Davis and Jester Hairston had actually worked together before on That's My Mama in 1974. It sounds like a small detail, but it says a lot about Black television from that era. The more you look back, the more you realize the faces in Amen were not randomly thrown together. These were people who had been moving through the same professional network for years. Fact number 4. LaWanda Page and Whitman Mayo. Two guest stars on Amen were also Aunt Esther and Grady Wilson on Sanford and Son. For older viewers, that's exactly the kind of detail where all it takes is one quick moment of recognition, and suddenly a whole era of American sitcoms comes rushing back. I think that's also part of what gives Amen such strong nostalgic power. It does not stand alone. It connects to an entire earlier television tradition. Fact number 5. Barbara Montgomery left Amen to go star in ABC's sitcom Married People in 1990, but the irony is that the show only lasted one season. It stings a little, but honestly that's also very old Hollywood. A new door opens, somebody walks through it, and only afterward do they realize it does not lead nearly as far as they thought. I'll be honest with you, I just rewatched Amen yesterday. That's probably part of why I made this video in the first place. The more I revisited it, the more I wanted to know how the faces who helped build my own memories, the people who once showed up on screen with the laughter, the warmth, and that very specific feeling of an older era of American television, actually lived after they stepped away from the show, what they went through, and where life finally took them. For me, that is always the most interesting part of old movies and old television. The show itself may end, but the lives of the people inside the frame keep going. So what about you? Do you like these kinds of cast then and now videos? And if you do, what movie or series would you want me to cover next? Leave your pick down in the comments. And if you enjoy this kind of nostalgic content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. I'm going to keep coming back with a whole lot more names that helped define the golden age of American film and television.